All right. Hey, everyone, it's Friday. Welcome back to the stream. So, real quick, um, before we get into the actual NASDAQ, I just want to talk about Bitcoin. All right, let me just say hello. All right, let me just get the stream started first. I know I'm all over the place. So, welcome to the stream. If you're new, thank you for joining me. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9:35 a.m. I know I should probably start a little earlier, but this is when I start. And the goal of the stream is to use the Trade Scanner Pro to look for trades on the NASDAQ micro futures, which is not these charts right here. And the goal is to reach the profit objective in my Apex account. So I have an eval account here, which you guys can see. All right. And in this account, I'm trying to reach the $3,000 objective. Okay. So I still have two more $1,000 to go. And it's been some time, but I'm trying to do this as you guys know, I'm trying to do this in a sustainable way. Sure, I can go all in with 10 mini lots, make 15 points, and I'm at the $3,000 objective. But if I can't trade in a sustainable way, I'm just wasting my time and my money because I have to pay a setup fee on top of all that. So if I blow the account after all that because I don't have a sustainable method, then what's the point? So I'm trying to demonstrate this in a sustainable way on live streams so that every trade is documented. I don't trade this account outside of this stream. So I only trade this account 3 days a week, right? So, and you guys can see all the details. Anyway, so with that being said, um, before I get into the NASDAQ, I just have to mention, if you looked at my TradingView article that I wrote on Sunday, I talked about 113K, right? What's the high over here? 112. So I missed it by 1,000 points. All right. But clearly my levels are relevant. That's the point there because we rejected basically that 113. You see that? How cool is that? Well, it's not cool if you're long, but I warned people. I said risk is elevated and all that stuff, right? Read the article. By the way, this move on Bitcoin, while it looks dramatic, hasn't broken any support levels. So this really isn't significant yet. Before we can really call this a corrective structure, we need to start breaking some supports, right? Our first support is going to be around here, 104, like 104 half, 103. If we start pushing that, then we may be in the corrective structure, possibly. But the way this market's been, these markets just don't want to really correct. Not really. And you have some minor things here and there, but buyers just keep stepping in, right? Especially like in the NASDAQ. So let's move over to the NASDAQ, shall we? Do I have anyone watching me here today? Feel free to say hello. All right. Got a couple of people, the usual numbers, the usual depressing numbers. Feel free to say hello. And if you want to share what city or what country you are from, that's always a fun fact. I'm streaming from the greater New York City area, also known as Northern New Jersey. All right, so we're going to change this. We're going to change these charts over here. By the way, I was looking at A had a question yesterday. Hey, Hussein, about can you trade Bitcoin futures on these prop accounts, right? And I was telling him you can, but it's a bad idea. Hey, there he is. And I was looking at the Apex products. I was just looking to see, and yeah, we can pull up the chart. We could take a look at it. There's a micro Bitcoin contract. We could take a quick look, which technically we can trade, but I don't think I'm going to want to trade that on here. But let's go to MNQ1. Okay. And we're going to keep that on the daily time frame. And then we're going to change this over here. Turn these off. We don't need these for now. And on this chart, let's just go, what is it? MBT, I think is the MBT. See, micro Bitcoin futures, CME. See that? So that's like the top one on there. So MBT, and these are the micro Bitcoin futures. So, I mean, look at the spread. Well, 109, see the spread on that? I don't know if you could see those numbers. 109.30, by 109.50. So it's a good 20-point spread on that thing, right? So if we're looking at like 1 minute time frames, 1 minute charts on this thing, I mean, this is what you're dealing with, right? This is what you're dealing with. So I don't know. I'm going to stick with the NASDAQ futures. I'm not going to change the contract. I'm not going to change for purposes of the stream because I'm sticking to the micro NASDAQ futures, but you can trade these on a 1 minute chart. Here they are, but you're dealing with a 20-point spread. And so it's starting out 20 points against you. I guess the way this thing moves, I guess that's doable, but I don't know. I haven't worked with this, with those wide spreads. I have used the Trade Scanner Pro on perpetual futures contracts that are not from the CME that typically have a 1 point spread, not 20 points. So anyway, just wanted to point that out. So let's go to MNQ1, right? And we have our chart set up here. Now, as you guys know, we do this step by step, right? So if you're new to the stream, I'll explain. Hey, Lucas, how are you? Thanks for joining. So if you're new to the stream, again, we're using the Trade Scanner Pro. And for those of you that may be new to the Trade Scanner Pro, as you can see, there's a signal here on this chart, right? But the guys that have been following me for a while, you know that we don't take signals just for the sake of taking signals because we have to do our analysis first. Then we look for the signals. So in that regard, we turn the signal off because we don't want to see something that's going to confuse us, right? We have to come up with our analysis first. And by the way, a couple of things I want to mention. For one, Monday is a holiday. I've gotten a number of emails from like the exchanges with their holiday schedule, blah, blah, blah. I haven't read the email, but I assume that the stock market's going to be closed and all that kind of stuff. If that's the case, there's no point in doing this, right? You're not going to want to trade. I will probably, I should say I'm not going to stream on Monday. If it's a holiday, I'm not going to stream this session because it's going to be pointless. I mean, maybe I'll do my analysis session. I don't know. We have to see. I have to see what's going on Monday. It's not like I go out and do things. So maybe I'll do that one, but I'm not going to stream on Monday at the 9:30 session. So guys, remember that. I'm not going to stream on Monday because it's a holiday during this session. And most likely the futures are, if they are open, but the stock market's closed, it's going to be pointless, right? So just pointing that out. Another thing, on the interview front, right? I've been telling you guys that I've been talking to some of the traders from the ICTC, asking them if they'd be willing to do an interview with me. And yeah, I got Merlin. Merlin gave me a yes. He confirmed. And Mauro, the guy from Italy, he also confirmed. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to conduct an interview with them, right? So probably going to do Mauro first. And it'll be me, Nick, and Mauro, and we're going to talk to him about his style. We're going to talk to him about how he got started. We're just going to get into some details about like what he does, because what you saw on the ICTC wasn't exactly what he does. He had to adjust for the competition. So we're going to get to learn more about how he really trades and what his background really is and all that kind of stuff. And I think there'll be something to learn from that. Okay. So Hussein, yeah, I'll probably do my the analysis stream, but I have to see though. I have to say I may or may not do it. I'm not sure yet. But this stream definitely not. Okay. Yeah, well, because they're busy guys. You know what I mean? Like they're all busy, but I mean they're nice enough to grant me the interview, and so we'll get that going. It's going to be an upload, so I'm not going to stream it. It'll be an upload, so I'm going to interview them offline, and it'll probably be an hour long. I have my questions for them, and and then we'll see how that goes, and then I'll upload those, right? But those will be really cool because we'll learn from guys, and I'm impressed, especially with those young guys, right? And we'll get the other guys like Malik and Hamaha and all those. I'm really impressed with them because they're so advanced for their age. Because when I was their age, I mean, I knew like a fraction of what they know. So it's very interesting to see the younger generation. But these guys are like winners, though. These guys aren't like your typical trader. They're winners. That's why they were selected to be on the ICTC in the first place. So yeah, so no, I'm excited. I'm excited about that because I really like them, and they were nice enough. Hey, you're asking me the other day, how many collabs have you done? Right, 0. Well, now at least I have a couple that I can do because these guys were nice enough to grant this for me because it helps me, I think, more than it helps them. Anyway, so let's talk about charts, shall we? Now, as you guys know, the first step, we have to do our analysis. What I like to do first when using the Trade Scanner Pro is I like to go to the daily time frame. By the way, if you want to try the Trade Scanner Pro out, you see the link on the screen. Check it out, 14 days for free, right? And make sure if you don't want to use it to cancel within those 14 days because I have a no refund policy. If you get billed, you know, I'm not going to refund your money. Okay. You have 14 days to cancel. So it's not like I'm scamming you here. All right. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So the first step that I like to take here is I like to look at the daily time frame, and you guys know why. Now, real quick, let me just mention real quick. If you're watching me on YouTube, do me a favor, right? Press the like button and press the subscribe, the notification bell, all that stuff. Here, do that. Do those things for me, please. Help me out because I could use the help on these channels. And if you're watching me on Twitter, please retweet my stream. Okay, do me a favor, retweet my stream. It helps me out. All right, so let's get into the analysis. First step, I like to look at the daily time frame. I'm not looking for trend on this time frame. I'm only looking for relevant levels. So overnight low, yesterday's low, right? I want to know those levels. Overnight high, yesterday's high. That's it. Done. First step complete. Let's move along. So now I'm going to go to the hourly chart. Why the hourly chart? Well, because in advance, I know, and this is when you're using the Trade Scanner Pro, you need to know this in advance as well. I'm planning to trade on the 30-second or 1-minute time frame. No other time frames. Those are the parameters for my stream. So either I'm taking trades on a 30-second or a 1-minute. So because I know that in advance, I can use a 1 hour or I can use a 30-minute as well, but I like the 1 hour to get a sense of context. Context is really just another way of saying trend, right? What can I expect from these support and resistance levels that I drew on the chart? So I want to get a sense of trend. Well, let's see what we have going on here. So going back, as you can see, we have higher lows, right? Higher lows, higher lows. Okay, we were in a consolidation, higher low. We failed to make the higher high. That's not exactly bullish. We have a lower high, okay? Support break, lower low. How would we characterize that type of momentum? How would we characterize that? We have a lower high, we have a lower low. How would you guys characterize that? Bullish or bearish? Or consolidating? Pick one. How would you guys characterize that? Right? We have a lower high. We have that's a pretty clear lower low. We broke this range support over here, right? That's certainly some type of change. How would you guys characterize it? Bullish, bearish, or range bound? Pick one. And I'll wait because I want to know your answers. And if you're watching me on Twitter, you guys should come over to YouTube to tell me. Let me see how depressing these numbers are. Let me look. Ugh. I get all my traction on Twitter. YouTube just hates me. YouTube just doesn't like me. Okay. I get the same people. Like YouTube numbers never grow. All right. I mean, it's not very encouraging, to be honest with you. But I know I cry all the time about it. There's certain things I do have to do certain things to drive more traffic to my YouTube channel. But anyway. So you guys, any answers? Any answers? I don't see any answers. I know there's a little bit of a delay. Bullish, bearish, or range bound? How would you characterize this price action based on the 1 hour chart? Come on, you guys have to answer the question. I'm waiting. Waiting for the answers. I'm gonna make sure that I get the answers here because sometimes my scroll bar messes me up and you guys answer and then I don't see the answers. All right, come on. Do I have to answer for it? You can also say I don't know. How about that? You can say I don't know. I don't know, as Jerry Seinfeld would say. Okay. I think bearish today, Hussein says. All right, bearish. Okay. You guys just completed the analysis. Was that hard? It's bearish. I agree. We have to say the momentum is bearish. You guys you've done the analysis. How hard was that? How long? That wasn't very long, right? You looked at it for a couple of minutes. So we've determined we have some levels and we have some context. We know. So now that we've determined this is generally bearish momentum that we're facing here, resistance levels are likely to hold and support levels are likely to break. That's very important for when I use my Trade Scanner Pro. So what we've just answered here is what side should I be working with the Trade Scanner Pro? That's going to be the bearish side because our momentum is generally bearish. All right. And we're not sitting on a support. The support is here. So if we were sitting on the support, that can make things a little more complicated. But generally, we're working on the bear side. Okay. So your analysis is done. That wasn't that hard. That's all you have to do. Right. You don't have to sit here and do like 10 years of analysis to figure this out. You have a general idea. Now, here's our 30-second chart, okay? And I'm going to switch this over to the 1 minute. Okay, it's the 1 minute, it's on there. I'm going to turn the Trade Scanner Pro back on. Now, look, there's a short signal that's in play here on the 1 minute, interestingly enough. Let me turn my 30-second on. And on my 30-second, there's a long signal, right? That's confusing, isn't it? Which one should I work with? Which one should I work with? You guys should know the answer to that. Just to navigate the current. I think a lot. Well, Lucas, that's a good suggestion. I appreciate that. It's the first thing I mentioned on my stream, but I'd probably have to put it in my title or something, right? Because my title says NASDAQ on it. But yeah, I always touch on Bitcoin because I always update my analysis that I do on Sunday, based on how the Bitcoin chart has changed over the week. I usually touch on it, but that's a good suggestion. I should probably throw that in my, it has to be in the title or something because people are going to be attracted to the title or not. And the thumbnail, I gotta also make some new thumbnails. Thumbnails are like an evolving thing. So cool. And you guys can also ask questions too. Feel free to ask me a question. I can touch on Bitcoin if we have nothing going on over here. But my question, look, we have a bullish signal on Trade Scanner Pro and we have a bearish signal. Which one should I be working with? Yeah, the algos, right. The algos like that because the algos don't like me, that's for sure. The algos don't like me. I think I know that. I think that's a fact that I've confirmed. James. All right, so let me see. A question from James here. What does he say? Can you show the signals? Okay, on Ethereum. All right, we could take a look at that if we have some time. Okay, so I'll see, James, if I can get to that. I appreciate the question. A says shorts. Yes. So there's a long signal over here. That means I'm not interested in the long signal. Why am I getting the long signal? Because the trend says bullish over here. This is why I'm getting the long signal. But remember, our analysis carries more weight, not the Trade Scanner Pro. Our analysis. So if I'm interested in a short signal, then I should switch this to counter trend mode. By the way, you got to turn all these things on. When you get the Trade Scanner Pro, you got to turn these things on, right? And now I go into counter trend mode because I'm interested in short signals. This is particular to like very small time frames, like a 30-second chart, because this trend status changes constantly, right? Because the market, because of the data on this time frame, you have to be very aware of that. Okay. Now my 1 minute is bearish, but my 30-second is bullish. Remember, the larger the time frame, the more weight it carries. So in this case, the 1 minute would make more sense, but our analysis was bearish. So I want to work on the bear side. Now, interestingly enough, this structure that we see here on the 1 minute doesn't exactly look bearish, right? That's a higher low and a higher high situation. But remember, we analyzed the bigger picture. right? So this just may be a small corrective move on that bigger picture. And we're still going to work on the bear side because the hourly carries even more weight than that. Now, in this situation, as you guys know, if we retest the blue line, that can serve as an entry. This trade has been in play for about 10 minutes or more than 15 minutes now, right? And I'm not going to short it now in the middle here, but if we get back up here, there may be another re-entry opportunity. That's something you're not going to learn. Remember, these sessions serve as a training guide. It's free training on how to use the Trade Scanner Pro so that you don't have to figure it out yourself. I'm teaching you how to use it, right? Because you're not going to figure it out. I know a lot of people think they're smart out there. I get it, but it's not intuitive. There are some very specific nuances and very specific things that you need to understand to use this tool effectively. And I want you guys to be able to use it effectively. I want you guys to be able to make money using this tool. And as you can see, I've been doing a decent job maintaining my account using nothing but this tool, right? But you have to use it right. It's very easy to use it wrong and lose money all over the place. So I'm going to change my size here to 2 contracts because that's what I'm looking to trade. And we may get an entry opportunity here. We'll see. We're getting the retest. So like I said, I missed the original entry because I was too busy talking, right? I started the stream. We almost went to the profit objective. And here we are. We're trying to get back here. Also, my trailing stop has advanced significantly in this trade. So my risk, I can use either the trailing stop or my full stop. The thing is, because if I take this trade, which I'm not in yet, oh, that would have been nice, man. That would have been nice. What time is it? Oh, it's 10 o'clock. Okay. The 10 o'clock candle. You see, oh, look, now we got a short signal on the 30-second. Okay. Now that I'm interested in. If we could just push a little bit lower, I'm going to take it. All right, taking it. All right, so I waited. They got me. Oh, man. All right. I took that on the 30-second, and this candle, I should have waited for the candle to close. But I saw the red, and I got excited. All right. So my risk on this trade is 42 points. All right, that's about right. I mean, in previous days, the risk has been about 25 points, which is about half, right? So the risk has increased a bit, which, you're going to see when the market has wider ranges or the market has some kind of significant pullback on the bigger picture, you're going to see the risk widen, right? So my risk has widened a bit. It's 42 points. That's kind of lousy. I mean, I don't want to lose that, but that's the risk, okay? So if I really don't want to take that much risk, I could just trade one contract. But I mean, 42 points, I'd say is about average, right? 25 points is below average. I'd say that's kind of low for the NASDAQ. 42 points is about average. And above average, like risk would be 100 points or 150, like we saw a month ago. That's really high risk, right? And in that type of environment, when we're seeing 100-point risk on a 30-second time frame, that's where you want to go to one contract because you can find yourself in trouble very quickly. All right, so this thing is trying. It's trying to reject. It gave us a little rejection off this resistance here. So maybe that turns into something. Hopefully, we're going back to the blue line on this 30-second. I'm happy to see that, but can we keep it going? Now, guys, I like to ask this question. The 10 o'clock candle. Why is it significant? Now, I know and some of my regulars know. Give maybe someone who's new to the stream, I'd like you to answer that question. Give them like a minute or two to answer the question. And if they don't answer, then you can answer the question. But why is a 10 o'clock candle significant? As a day trader, we should be very aware of this. Now, as a swing trader, it doesn't matter. Okay, for a swing trader, the 10 o'clock candle doesn't really mean anything. But for a day trader, it's meaningful. Why? Who can tell me? Besides A, who can tell me? I'm not liking this price action, by the way. Who can tell me? So I'm looking at like 42 points of risk. I'm going to give it a chance. If it touches the stop, I have to respect the stop. Now notice we're back at the blue line on the 1 minute chart. Some days I'm just going to take losing trades, man. It's going to happen. It's annoying, but what am I going to do? It would be unrealistic if I had a winning trade every single day. There'd be something up with that, right? I'd probably if that was the case, I'd probably be cheating somehow. Oh, okay, got stopped out. Let me get out. All right, so I got out, bought those contracts back. Let's take a look. How bad is it? Minus 189. Yeah, that's about right. So I just blew that one. Minus 189. All right, what am I going to do? The thing is, I'm respecting the stops. All right, that trade failed. That's going to happen. Now, am I still going to work on the short side? Possibly. Let's check the 1 hour chart. See, is there anything really changing on this hourly chart? Anything I should be aware of here? Not really. I mean, actually, it's trying to give us a long signal. Heads up on the hourly, but that's still a potential lower high. And we're in the middle of the range, right? And we have this large bearish candle. So I'm still willing to work on the short side. So if we get another sell signal like we may get here, I'll take it if we get the appropriate follow through. And what I'll do in this situation, I'll try 3 contracts to see if I can make some of that money back. I'll try for 3. And if the second trade fails, I'm done. I will not continue. Because it's been a tough week. We're going into holiday mode here. Usually markets can be more tedious and more a lot of fake outs, it's just a harder market. Opening range. Yes, Hussein. Hey, Kai, how are you? When you say advanced for their age, do you mean specifically technical stuff or more stuff? Well, good questions there. So yeah, as far as like Malik and Merlin, they're not only are they very advanced for their market knowledge, for their age, because they're young guys, man. They're young guys, and they have very advanced market knowledge, but also just where they are for their age. I mean, they're both pretty successful guys. They're very well to do for such a young age, man. So a lot of guys their age, they come out of college or whatever, and they're just trying to they're still trying to figure things out. These guys are like successful, So I'm very impressed on a number of fronts, but primarily their technical market knowledge, because the stuff, especially like Merlin, because he makes these really cool videos. You should go to his Instagram. By the way, I now have an Instagram where I'm putting behind the scenes stuff. I don't have much on there, but you should follow me on Instagram too if you get a chance. Mark P Markets on Instagram. I'm new to that, by the way. But Merlin he puts out these really cool training videos. They're like a minute long, and they're really well done. In fact, I sent them a message. I'm like, dude, how do you make those, man? Like, I think he has a team that may make those for him. I don't know, but they're really nice, well done videos, and they explain like his concepts and stuff. So very, very cool. So yeah, I'm impressed with those guys on many fronts. Now, Hussein, let's get to Hussein here. Opening range. So yes, the first 30-minute candle is the opening range, and that refers to the opening range breakout. I'm watching. There's a signal. Okay, now let's see if we could get some more. If we could get some follow through here, some more red, then I'll bang this thing. This is a possible double top, but let's see. Okay, I'm hitting it. All right. So I waited for a little bit. You notice I waited for a little bit after the blue line, right? I don't short the exact blue line because I want to see how the candle follows through. Like, when they got me on that stop out, what happened? I got short because I thought I was getting that red follow through, and it turned into a green candle and went the wrong way on me, right? So that's why I want to see at least the candle following through a little bit. Now, this still may not work out for me, but I like to see at least the first candle after the signal. What kind of candle is it? Because if it's straight up the wrong way, like this candle, if this was the first candle, like we get the signal, and then the next candle is just straight up bullish like that, then there's no reason for me to enter. I might as well just wait until I get some sort of confirmation, right? Like this green candle. Like if I had waited and not had taken that first red candle, and I see this green candle, I would just wait. So the signal is there, but why not wait until the momentum is going my way, right? So it's tricky, especially with a 30-second chart. It's tricky, but you know that's the way I try to play these, because I want momentum. See, like on this red candle close, if we go back below the blue line, this is where I would short. Like if I was flat, this is where I would short. I would try it again, right? I would try here, right there, because now I'm getting some confirmation. You see that? Right? I got the adverse candle, but now it's going back my way. So that would confirm, that would allow me to feel confident getting back in. That's how you take those, especially on these time frames. Now again, it doesn't guarantee it's going to work, but I'd rather do that than take a giant green candle going the wrong way. Right? So let's see if the market cooperates. I have a double top here, double top on the 1 minute, but this thing is struggling, man. I'll tell you one thing. When you take a short, right? Shorts should not linger. If people are selling, they're usually selling in a hurry. So if this is going to work, like it should work pretty quickly. I should not see consolidating. I should not see a lot of hesitating. Like this kind of nonsense, that's not exactly weak yet. You know what I mean? That's not exactly weak. And to really get that weakness, that momentum going, we're going to have to break this area right here. Okay? We're going to have to break this candle right in this area, right? We're going to have to break this. Price is going to have to get through that. If price can't get through that, then this is not a short. Okay? Because that means it's trying to give us a higher low. But remember, 30-second charts are very erratic. They're very hard to trade because they're all over the place. Right? And as you can see, like I got blown out of the first one. This one is trying to work my way a bit. We'll see if we can get some follow through, but they require a lot of patience. They're very hard to deal with. So it's good that I demonstrate this and you see firsthand. If you don't like these time frames, I don't blame you. I would recommend like 2-minute charts, 5-minute charts, 15-minute charts. Those are better for beginners. The reason why I demonstrate like on 30-second charts and stuff like that is because it's more in line with the objective for the stream. Because if I'm waiting for signals on a 2-minute chart, we'll go for days without signals, right? Because you have to wait like longer periods of time. The signals are going to be less frequent on time frames like like a 3-minute, 5-minute, that sort of thing. And I'll be talking for an hour, and then like the second hour when I turn the stream off, the signal shows up, right? So that's not going to be practical for the stream. That's why I do 30-second and 1-minute charts. But they're a real pain. They're very tough to deal with. As you can see, this is not the right price action for a short. Right? I'm seeing nothing but bullish signs here. I see, higher lows. Like I shouldn't be seeing that. I may get out of this early. Yeah, I'm getting out. Goodbye. I'm out. All right. As you can see, like I've been warning, like you know what? This is not bearish. So I'm not going to take any more trades. Let me see how bad this is. 472. Man, I'm blowing this account, man. Where are we at with this account? I was up $1,000. Now look, I gave back. I'm at 55.38. I just gave back $500 on this account. Right, and that $500 took me forever to build too. But then, just to be fair, I had to take a week off, so I missed a whole week on this thing. And look, I had 3 contracts on that one. I tried to give that one a chance. Whatever, this thing isn't working, right? So the market wants to work its way higher. I'm not going to fight it, and I'm not going to continue to trade. Minus 400 and whatever dollars, that sucks, but it's better than losing 1,000, right? And if my average good day is like $200, so it'll maybe take me 2 days to make that back. All right, but what am I going to do? That's part of the deal when you trade these accounts, right? So the key in this type of situation is I'm not going to continue to fight this. This thing is producing higher lows and a higher high. It's clearly not acting weak, although we determined it was weak in the beginning. Let's go back to our 1 hour. Let's just take a look, right? So it's just working its way higher. and it refuses to turn. Okay, maybe it'll turn at this resistance over here, possibly, which was yesterday's low. Maybe it'll turn there, but I'm not going to stick around for that. Okay, so if you're continuing to trade and you want to take one more trade, that may be the place to do it. But I'm not going to do it here. Let's take a look. Let's just take a look at a 2-minute chart. I'm just curious. What does a 2-minute chart show? The 2-minute chart is bearish. It says bearish on a 2-minute chart. Yeah. Let me just turn counter trend off on the 2-minute chart. The 2-minute chart is giving warnings. Well, that's very interesting. The 2-minute chart is showing a possible failed high, and it's giving us warnings there. So look, it's tricky. I mean, this move was, and it's still maintaining its momentum. It's not reversing. Remember, when something is bearish, it reverses pretty quickly, right? And I don't see any red candles, even on the 2-minute. Like, we're getting into that resistance area, but I don't see any bears. So the other question is, what do you do here? Do you now switch to bullish? I mean, on a 30-second chart, you can consider it, but the problem with that is you're going right into the resistance. So you want to get bullish now, going into the resistance? That's a tough call. I would rather, if I was going to get bullish, like if this thing wants to prove to be bullish, then I would want to at least see some kind of support level, even a minor support, right? A retest of a minor support. That's going to be like around here somewhere. Here, let me get the rectangle tool. That's going to be around here somewhere, right? That's going to be around there somewhere. Something like that. If I'm going to look for longs. So that's the thing. Like if you're going to switch, at least say, all right, well, at least find a minor support. Buying this thing right now is risky. Okay, in fact, I'm going to switch this to one contract. You know what? I may take one more trade. Is this thing in? Okay, I have to be back in counter trend mode for that. But I'm only going to do one. I may just. Oh, look, the trade is there. See that? It's there. I may take one. Let's see if we can break this. If we can break this little low over here, maybe I'll take that. But only one contract, not two, not three, just one. All right, I'm going to try it. Now we're consolidating again, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do on this one. If we blow right into this area, like we get green and we go right into the area, I'm going to get out. I'm not even going to let it go to the stop. I'm just going to get out. All right, now what's the risk on this one? 38 points. So we're looking at an average risk of like 40 points, which is $80 per contract. Here, 54 point. If it goes to the objective, I'm looking at about 54 points. So remember, like our bigger picture still hasn't changed. So this is tough because it's very conflicted. We're getting this bullish movement, which can really get us biased on the long side because the structure is bullish, but the bigger picture isn't bullish yet. So that can be very confusing. When you find those situations where it's very conflicted like that, it's like, okay, the bigger picture is bearish, but the smaller picture is not working. That's usually a good time to just stay out. You really want both pictures to be aligned. Like the bigger picture should be bearish and the smaller picture should be following through with it, right? And we're not getting that. We're getting bigger picture bearish, smaller picture conflicting. Like, look, we have another higher low here. Okay, if we can't make this lower low, if we can't break this lower low, then this thing is not a short yet. And I'm not going to trade anymore after that either with my one contract. I'll blow it out. If we can't make that lower low, I'm done with this. Because again, weak markets don't waste time, right? They usually sell off pretty confidently, like in a hurry. So we're not getting that here. All right, but let's see if we can make that lower low. Notice, like it tries to make the low, it tries, and then it just hesitates and hesitates. That's often a sign of strength. So, like I said, When the bigger picture is bearish, but the smaller picture refuses to cooperate, and you try a couple of times, just walk away. That's usually the best thing to do. Like, I don't like walking away with a $500 loss. I don't like that. But what am I going to do? Okay, I can't make the market pay me. So the only thing I can do in these situations is control the risk the best that I can. And you have to have a limit at some point. Now, there are some prop firms like Top Step. They have a daily loss limit. So if you lose $1,000, for example, they just cut you off and they kick you out of the account and you can't trade anymore, which is good and bad. I think because if you have a daily loss limit and you're going to have like a hard one like that's going to physically stop you from continuing, then it should be tighter than $1,000. And you can set that. I believe there's a setting you can change that, like on their platform. You can set it like, you lose $250, it kicks you out and you're done. No more trades. And that will actually, over time, that will protect you. That over time will protect you from blowing your account. And that's how you beat the eval, really, is by keeping those losses small. Okay, look, this one is working a bit. Would have been nice if I had 3 contracts on, right? But as you guys know, when I trade right the first time, when I have one winner, I like to stop there, right? But then when I have a losing trade, I try one more time. If I have 2 losing trades, then I'm done, right? So I took the third trade because I really felt some conviction about this short, and this one is trying to work here. It's doing better than the other trades, that's for sure. But I only have one contract. If we get to the profit objective, I will consider taking my contract off. But this is what I was looking for, right? This is what I was talking about. And look at this nonsense. And this still may reverse. It may look at the pin bars we're getting. But this is what I mean. When it sells in a hurry, right? This is in a hurry. Not that see, profit objective reached. See that? Now I may buy this back. I just want to see how this candle closes. Can we go through the profit objective? We might. I'm going to try to give it that chance. Now, by the way, if you were interested in longs, this would be your first area for longs. It's a failed low area. It's your first possible area for longs. If you, goodbye. I'm not going to deal with this. All right, so I made a little money back. Probably not much. All right, so look, I went from 470. I made like $100 back. I'm at minus 381. All right. Now, I took the money off the profit objective. If I had the 3 contracts on, I would have made most of that loss back. But what am I going to do? It's Friday. I don't want to have a situation where, I'm minus $1,000 because there's no way I'm going to make that back, right? My trailing stop is now in effect, as you can see, and I'm out of the trade. But if you were still in the trade, you have a few choices here. You can use a trailing stop now as your guide to get out. So if this thing goes straight up to the trailing stop, your risk is reduced by a little bit, not by much. But if this market turns around and goes back lower, the trailing stop is likely to keep you in longer. That's the whole idea. Okay. Now I'm done. I'm out of this trade, but we can watch this trade just to see where eventually it gets stopped out. I have a few more minutes. We can do that. All right. So what do you guys think so far? You guys are quiet. When I lose money, you guys are like, all right, I'm not watching this guy anymore. But what am I going to do? Losing is part of the game, man. It's about how you control the losses. All right. And I don't want this loss to grow. So the market was nice enough to give me a little bit of my money back. Trailing stop has advanced a little bit more. Now you see, look, I got out at the profit objective and this thing is coming back. So it's a good thing I got out. Now, this trade may possibly offer another entry. If we go to the blue line and get a signal there, that's possible. We're on our way there, as you guys can see. But I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to take another trade. I'm curious to see if we go to the trailing stop. The trailing stop has reduced the risk by half now if you had taken the trade. But you see what I mean? Now, another thing we have to say, I have to say, we were getting the sell-off, right? The selling action. We shouldn't see this. We shouldn't see this. This is not bearish, man. This is not. So, and what was I saying before? If you were looking for the long, what was I saying? If you were looking for the long, that was the place, right? Was I right? If you were looking for the long, that was the long. Oh, James, cool. Oh, I'm glad you got to see. Yeah, the IC. Yeah, it was fun. By the way, on my if you check out my Instagram, I'm going to start putting behind the scenes. I got a lot of behind the scenes footage, right? So I just started putting stuff on Instagram. But if you just go to Instagram, Mark P Markets, follow me on there. I'm going to be putting more and more behind the scenes stuff from the show, and I'm going to see. I have like a lot of stuff. I'm going to see if I can get a guy to cut up my make like a 10-minute like highlights reel that I could put on YouTube and stuff like that because I got a lot of stuff. From not just the show, but after the show, like when in Barcelona, I got to go to the El Clasico soccer game, and I got all kinds of stuff like that. So, yeah. But thanks for stopping by, James. Good to see you. So anyway, so now look at this. It's trying to give us another signal up here. Like I said, I'm not going to take this. You know why? Because this is a higher low. And that's not characteristic of a weak market. So we're gonna have to say this market's getting bullish. Look, it's going to the trailing stop. So it's a good thing I got out at the profit objective on that short. It's a good thing I got out there, right? And took my little money. And if you were looking for longs, right? If we go over here and we turn counter trend off, was there a long? Yes, look, there was a long signal there. You see that? The Trade Scanner Pro gave a long signal, and it's almost at the profit objective. So clearly, we were on the wrong side of the market, right? We determined short, but the market wants to be a long. Okay, we have to adjust. That's a key part of this game. Look at this. This long was a beautiful long. Look at that. This long here, if you took the long at the blue line, that was 50 points. Okay, it's $100 on one contract. So that's what I mean. So that's why. So I was wrong with that 1 hour chart. Now let's take a look at the 1 hour chart. But here's the thing: I was wrong coming up on that. On this momentum here, right? The market is basically conflicting, right? Because we haven't broken the 50% of this large candle, the red candle. That's usually when we break beyond that. That's usually like, okay, we're bullish. So this can still be bearish. That's the tricky thing. This can still be bearish. So that's a hard market. And I would, at this point, again, fooling around these resistances, I just would not go long yet. I just wouldn't go long. If I'm going to go long, I'd prefer to do the higher low or something like that. I would still try to work on the short side, but I think the higher probability for the short side would be at the resistance. Would you ever take a long after getting short? Good question, Kev. Well, it depends. It depends on the situation, right? I mean, let's just say I would be open to it. Look at this, right? So this is the long signal that occurred. I would be open to it, but I really try to lean on the bigger picture. And the hardest part of these situations is when there's this conflict where we have this bullish small structure, right? The 1 minute is clearly bullish. I mean, look, higher lows, right? Higher lows and higher highs. And I kind of saw that back here. I was like, that doesn't look exactly bearish, but I'm going to go with the bigger picture, right? And I try to align with the bigger picture. So there may be situations where the bigger picture changes, right? Like, for example, if we blew that resistance on that 50% area on that candle and we blew above that, then I would be open to going long, because there has to be a point where you have to adjust. Okay. Yeah, you have to be extremely decisive. It sucks, man. It's hard. It's not easy. So, it changes constantly. Now, so let's do this real quick. Let's go to the opening range. Because remember before we talked about the opening range? What is our opening range? Let's take a look. Because the opening range can give us clues as well. So this candle right here is the 10 o'clock close, or at 9:30. This candle here closes at 10 o'clock. This first candle, see the candle I'm pointing to? So actually, you know what? I'll use these. This is the opening range right here. Okay, that's the opening range. So we are basically attempting to break above the opening range, as you can see, but it's having a hard time. And we have this resistance. So I would still argue on the short side for those reasons. Because we have this large, what we like to call the mother bar, right? The mother bar, which is this big bearish situation right here, that's the momentum I'm going by. And I'm anticipating the lower high until we really clear that mother bar, or at least get above this resistance. Then I would be more open to going long. But the thing is, you can use the opening range as a guide as well. So if we can stay above this opening, right now we're back inside, but if we can break above and stay above, that can justify looking for longs as well. And usually the boundary, the opening range breakout boundary, often serves as a support if you're above it, right? So if as the day continues, if the market just decides to be strong all day and wants to keep its, work its way up there, then you can use that to justify as well. But this is it's a tricky area because this can easily turn into a short over here. The question is, does it turn into a short? I tried 2 shorts, right? 3 shorts. The third one would have been, if I had not gotten out at that profit objective, that third short would have been stopped out, right? And I would not have made money on that short if I had held it. Okay, so but I got out at the profit objective. So does that make sense? This is tricky. This is why I do these streams. So we can see in real time, you can learn in real time how to manage these situations. It's not easy, man. It's not easy, right? So, 3 trades, two got stopped out. 1, I barely got away with that one. So clearly I'm fighting the market. And at this point, it's still tricky. This is where if you want to try a long or something, you could try, but you just have to realize where you are, that the probability favors a reversal here. Okay, and we're coming up to 10:30. It's just after 10:30. Typically at 10:30 you have reversals. So this is ripe for a reversal. To confirm the reversal, though, you need support breaks. I mean, I would say you need to at least break that at least. You have a double top over here. This could be possibly a lower high developing, right? You have this little consolidation, but you have to realize something though. When a market sells off, like I said, it sells off in a hurry, and we're just not getting it. So we need to break the support, and we need to see if it breaks the support, like you break this, right? And it hesitates right here, and it's just not breaking lower, then it's probably going to go back up. Okay, in that type of situation. That's where, because you have people shorting it, and it's just being absorbed. Okay, so very tricky. The best thing to do, if you're confused, you're like, man, it's too much, just stay out. Right now, someone had a question earlier about larger time frames about Ethereum. So I guess I have a few minutes. We can go over that real quick. Let me go back to his question. James, that was James' question. So James asked earlier, can you look at the signals on a higher time frame on Ethereum, 1700 to 1800 breakout? Okay, yeah. So we could take a look at that real quick. So we'll go to this chart over here. Ethereum, ETH, USD. Okay, we could look at this spot. It doesn't matter, right? You have to look at the perpetual futures. And we'll go to, take a look at a 15-minute chart. Okay, and the breakout from 1700, man, where is that? Oh, I'm gonna have to go to a larger time frame. Let's go to a 30-minute, and let's see. So where's 1700? 1700 to 1800. That was a long time ago, man. Let's see. Where is that? I can't even find it on this chart. Oh, this breakout over here. Oh man. Okay, so on this, so going back, all right, so here's what we can do with this. This is on Coinbase, by the way. Well, first of all, even without using the Trade Scanner Pro, okay, no Trade Scanner Pro, I mean, you had this. I mean, look at that, man. I mean, you just had this consolidation. This is a 30-minute chart. So when was this? This was the beginning of May, or like the first week of May. I mean, when you have like an elongated consolidation like that and you break out, I mean, that's one thing, right? So you don't even need the Trade Scanner Pro for that. Now this is let's go. So for a situation like this, you probably have to look at a 4-hour chart, right? Let's go back. Let's go to that massive breakout. That was April, May. Okay. So now look. So if you go to the 4-hour time frame, okay. Let me make this bigger here. Go to the 4-hour time frame. There were two signals, as you can see. This one probably stopped out, but then look at this one. Right? You see that? It was there. So this one here reported a profit of 91 points, but that's based on the profit objective, right? So a situation like this, we can play this back. Okay, we can just play this back to see just what it looked like at the time. So at the time, for one, looking at this time frame at the time, you were making higher lows, right? So looking for a long in this situation, because you have a higher low, higher high, right? Looking for basically a failed low situation, that would have made sense because you broke these resistances here, right? So if we go forward and we start playing, one candle at a time, there's a signal, right? This is what the signal looked like on the 4-hour time frame at the time, which, by the way, we have the Trade Scanner bot calls these. Okay, the risk was 60 points at the time. If you got it at the blue line, your profit objective was 90 points. That's 1.5 to 1, which is the standard setting for the Trade Scanner Pro, right? So now let's see like how this trade would have played out. Look at this. So look at that. Look at that. It went straight to it, like in one candle. It went straight to the profit objective. Let's take a little pain. You see that? But as you know, the Trade Scanner Pro has the trailing stop. Okay, so maybe you take some off at the profit objective, but then what happens? Look at this. Look at this. This thing goes berserk. Look at this. Look at the trailing stop. Look at this point. Look, at this point, the trade that's nuts, man. Okay. Look at this. Look at this. Okay. So from if just at the peak, okay, if you had held on to the peak, you look at 674 points. So you went from what was the risk on that again? 60 points of risk. What is that? More than 10 to 1 if you got the peak? But let's assume you don't get the peak, right? And let's just say it goes to the trailing stop at this point. How much money is that? 348 points. Still, what is that? 5 to 1 or something like that? 5 to 1 reward risk. So let's just see, where does this thing stop out? Look at this thing. Look at this thing. That's beyond 10 to 1 at that point. Look at this. Look at this. Then it's consolidating. All right, what point, what price is this here? Let's see. 23.20 basically. Let's see, does it stop out there or no? Does it go for a new high? Look at this. It goes even higher. So look, this thing is keeping you in the trade. I mean, these are rare trades, but man, you catch something like that, this is what puts you in the green. Look, at this point, okay? Again, the risk was 50 points. At this point, if the trailing stop is touched, that's 534 points. Okay, in a few days, obviously, this is a swing trade. Okay, but this is what you're dealing with on a 4-hour time frame. Look at this. And then it keeps going. There's more. I mean, look at this. When does it stop out? Does it ever stop out? Okay, there it goes. It stops out. And it gives another signal. So from the entry, you're looking at around almost, let's just say 550 to 600 points you could have gotten away with on that trade if you managed to take that trade. Okay, pretty impressive, wouldn't you say? That's Ethereum. Okay, that was a Trade Scanner Pro Ethereum when it broke out. So, and you had other points of reference too for that breakout. All right, how are we doing with the Trade Scanner Pro? The market's just pretty quiet here. All right, so I reviewed Ethereum there. We can go back to MNQ1. What do you guys think of that? But a 4-hour chart, I mean, you know that took like a week to play out. But the point is, you went from 50 points of risk to over 500 points of profit if you had held on with the trailing stop. Okay, so that's only that's what the Trade Scanner Pro helps you do. But you have to know your time frame. You're not going to just jump around and say, "Oh, look, a 4-hour thing." You have to kind of be on top of Ethereum, right? You're not going to just jump into a random signal. But if you had been following it and you've been looking for a long signal, that would have been a beautiful long signal, and it really paid off, right? And what allows you to stay in on something like that is the trailing stop. It keeps you in the trade longer. So at the profit objective, you take some off and then you try to ride some. And on a large time frame like that, that's where you have those potential for those really big moves. You're not going to see that on a 1-minute chart. I mean, you could see 10 to 1, but it's going to be relatively smaller. If you're risking 30 points or something and you make like 200 points, 300 points, it can happen, but it's infrequent, especially in this environment, right? 300 points is like the entire day for the NASDAQ at this point. Make sense? Okay, you guys. So I'm going to leave it at that. This thing's breaking out higher. Look at this. It's trying to. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Look, I don't make money on every stream, man. Sometimes I'm going to get beat up a little bit like this, but that's part of the game. And now I have to make that money back. So there is a churning process because not every trade is going to be a winner. One way, to get around that, like, well, that sucks. I don't want to do that for 3 months. Well, I understand. So the only way around that is you have to basically gamble your way out of it. And the only way is you go all in and you hope that it works out, right? And then we could reach the profit objective in one trade. But if I tried that today, I would have blown the account for sure. Okay? For sure, I would have blown the account. So, I'm trying to do this in a sustainable way. And if it takes me 3 months or 4 months, then that's how long it's going to take. Remember, I have to pay a subscription every month on this stupid thing. So anyway, all right. So I hope you learned something valuable from the stream. Again, do me a favor. If you're watching me on Twitter, please retweet the stream, even if it's a losing trade. I don't care. People need to see that, man. People need to see reality, not all this fake stuff that's all over the place, right? Retweet the stream. Also like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like I said, I have some cool content coming with these interviews that I'm planning to do over the next few weeks. So we'll be able to learn from that as well. All right, everyone. So remember, Monday is a holiday. I will not be streaming at this time on Monday, but most likely I'll do the afternoon session. We'll see. Most likely. I don't know. I may not do it. I don't know. We'll leave that one open, okay? But the 9:30 session, I'm not going to trade. Just to be clear, guys. All right? Just to be clear, because Monday is a holiday. Okay? Holiday. And it's probably also going to affect how the market trades going into the afternoon. So if I were you, I would just take the day off. Don't even bother. Go do something fun. And then we'll pick this up next week. All right? So guys, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your evening, wherever you're watching in the world. And again, thanks for watching.